All right, another week. Here we go. Welcome to Frontline. 6 o'clock here on the East Coast, and the government's been shut down for about 138 hours. We begin tonight with some fresh news. Former special counsel Jack Smith reportedly tracked private communications and phone calls of 8 Republican U.S. senators as part of his January 6th investigation. More on this with Congressman Russell Fry in just a sec. But in Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson says his rule of law supersedes that of the federal government.
And today, we are signing an executive order aimed at reining in this out-of-control administration. The order establishes ICE-free zones.
Yeah, good luck with that, buddy. We'll have more on that with the deputy director of ICE itself. And the White House is looking into why Ronald Exanius got an early release. He was supposed to be sentenced to 20 years in prison in 2018 for the stabbing and killing of a 6-year-old boy in 2015. Unbelievable. But first, it turns out you just can't throw rocks at ICE agents. So let's do this. So if you're just digging out from this weekend, the left's war on ICE and federal accountability has actually really ramped up quite a bit. There's quite the narrative war among the mayor and the police chief in Chicago and reality.
Can you confirm, though, were Chicago police told to stand down?
What I can confirm is that our police department responds to every single 911 call.
This is my decision because I need to be firm on this. When we show up to a scene and a crowd gathers, CPD is going to step out there.
But it sure sounds like that order did go out.
All right, and 999, just to confirm, 39th Police in Kedzie, they were saying that they were being surrounded by that large crowd, and they were requesting the police were not sending. I'm waving off all the cars heading to 39th Police in Kedzie.
Again, those are the orders we're being given.
So to be clear, this is in regards to Chicago police and whether or not they were allowed to help federal agents in trouble. That order sounds like they were told not to go. Then Brandon Johnson, after announcing that there will be ICE no-go zones in his city, says he's going to be taking legal action also against the Trump administration to prevent any type of federal help in the same city that had 30 people shot over the weekend, 5 of which who died. And he was really on a roll today. Also saying it in the same press conference, that it's the right that wants a rematch of the Civil War.
I said very candidly that the right wing in this country wants a rematch of the Civil War.
What an incredibly stupid thing to say. I mean, for a lot of reasons. But first, I think he needs a history lesson because the right did win the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln, the first Republican president, was the president for the Union side, the party fighting to end slavery. And Brandon Johnson, who is in fact a black man who has risen to the mayor of a major U.S. city, could not have done any of that in a Confederate-controlled country, only in a Union-controlled country. The right. The other thing that I would be remiss if I didn't point out is, how does he think that would play out? I mean, just humor this, okay? Let's just set the sides here real quick for him to think about this. You'd have Antifa, BLM, and a bunch of social justice warriors against military veterans, rednecks, hunters, bikers, and basically every gym bro out there. I mean, I'd rather not have a civil war, but I'm also pretty confident in the outcome. But this is the derangement of the left. I don't know if Brandon Johnson actually believes that, but it's this narrative that is convincing people to do absolutely insane things, like from over this weekend. What appears to be happening here is an ICE vehicle is being rammed from behind by some civilian lunatic who just didn't want them there, didn't like them. But also, in a separate incident, in the same weekend, an armed woman, so deranged, I guess, from her hatred of ICE or federal officers, she actually was boxing in ICE agents, resulting in them needing to shoot her to end the confrontation. She's expected to survive, but this was the headline, okay? Check this out. This woman shot multiple times by ICE agents in Chicago, DHS confirms, making it seem like, oh, they just capped this woman. No, the subtitle also says, the armed, in quotes, woman was reportedly taken to a Chicago area hospital in stable condition after the car crash and shooting. You have to go down into the body of the article to read the fact that ICE agents were, in fact, boxed in by 10 cars, and the woman who carried out the attack was named in a threat assessment for doxing ICE agents the week prior, posting something effective, beating them up. She used a bunch of F words. But these people are deranged. And they are using every time ICE arrests somebody as more justification to go even further. ICE is not the instigator here. These people are, like we just showed that crazy woman. Imagine being such a degenerate like this. These people right here. This is your idea of fun on a Saturday night. Hey, let's go out and maybe spit on some federal ICE agents' faces, and then you're somehow surprised when they choke slam you on the pavement and arrest you for assaulting an officer. And then these Antifa cohorts or whoever is protesting whatever location, whatever day, for whatever reason, uses that video to recruit more of these unstable, probably not gainfully employed liberals under the guise of ICE being a bunch of Nazi brown shirts.
They are using Gestapo tactics in Chicago, and this is what Trump wants to do.
No, they're not. They're not. People like her don't say a word about the guy spitting in the officer's face, though. Just curious, Tammy Duckworth, the Democrat, how would you feel if you were surrounded by a mob and they were spitting in your face? I mean, this is the environment that people like her have created for ICE, and they have people out there advocating, even going after ICE agents' kids.
You know, ICE agents have children, too. Most of them have children, too. And it's not as hard as you think to figure out who they are, where they go to school.
That woman has almost 300,000 followers. Are you serious? But this is a pattern. The Democrat Virginia Attorney General candidate who was just exposed for wanting to kill the kids of someone in opposing political party, not to mention pissing on their grave and doing a bunch of other stuff, 2 bullets in them. The Democrats are not calling for him to drop out of the race. I mean, this has got to stop. And the way you get it to stop is by arresting people who do this stuff, not excusing it. Look, like I said, you can't throw a rock at a federal agent and think, in a rational mind, I'm not going to get arrested. Yes, you are. You have to get arrested for that. People are doing that. Then they're running away and then using the clip of them getting suplexed while they're running away as propaganda against ICE. The whole thing is just so ludicrous to me. And I realize they didn't enforce laws on liberals for the last 4 years, but we do now. There is this crazy concept don't break the law and federal agents won't do anything bad to you. I have no fear of ICE agents. I generally don't like the ATF because I think they shouldn't exist, but I have no fear of the rest of law enforcement agents, exclusively because I don't break the law. I don't spit in federal agents' faces. I am a law-abiding citizen. This is accountability. This is what happens when you have a generation that has never had consequences for their actions. These people, in their upbringing, through college, and now as adults, think that they're some revolutionary against the man, and their level of fake outrage that they've been told to feel is somehow and therefore some ridiculous level of justification. It's all crap. The fact that these people and the left are so angry that they're defending violence and unrest against federal troops is insane, considering how seriously they took January 6th, where they tracked people down years later and then raided their homes, identified them by their earlobes, and now the left is somehow big mad because that same standard's being used to people who actually are committing crimes, unlike the vast majority of people who were just led into the Capitol, possibly by the 274 undercover FBI agents in the Crown. But I digress. In Trump's America, you don't get to throw a rock at an ICE agent and then turn around and run away and have no consequences. Now they're tracking you down, kind of like you guys did on January 6th. The left cared so much about that. It was an alleged attack on law enforcement, but they don't say a word now. In fact, they excuse it. The government cannot let anyone get away with breaking these laws. This goes for the Congresswoman LaMonica McIver, her indictment, all the way down to the purple-haired basement dweller screaming in the street between their shifts as a barista. As the left said for the last 4 years, no one's above the law. Madison Sheahan is the deputy director of ICE. Madison, this is insane that we even have to have this conversation.
Absolutely. I think this is what happens when we give out far too many participation trophies. And, you know, as somebody who's won their own championship rings, I think it's fair to say these are people who have gone out and felt like they were above the law for the last 4 years. President Trump and Secretary Noem have come in and said that we're going to enforce the law as it's written. The men and women of ICE go out every single day and enforce immigration law as it's written. We don't pick winners and losers. We go out and enforce federal law, and that's what you're seeing us do in Chicago, in Portland, and all across the United States to put the American people first, which has not happened for the last 4 years. And President Trump and Secretary Noem have done just that. They're putting the American people first.
Yeah, and because it hasn't been done for so many years, all of a sudden you guys seem like the bad guy, even though, like you said, you're just enforcing the law. Also, Chicago, apparent decision. I mean, we have the 911 tape or the dispatcher's tape that says, like, no, we're not sending troops over there. Brandon Johnson and the chief of police both said, no, that's not what's happening. But it did happen.
Absolutely, it did happen. And I think it's a shame that law enforcement officers do not come in and assist other law enforcement officers. We've seen the FOP come out against this. We've seen many other groups come out against this. Law enforcement officers are supposed to have each other's back. We will always assist other law enforcement entities, whether it's federal partners or state partners, in times of need when officers are being attacked. That's what's happening to our ICE officers. We've had an increase in security threats of almost 1,000% across the country. We see our officers going out with protective details, with additional assistance, because the amount of threats that are on these officers when they're out going after the worst of the worst. The left continues to protect gang members, murderers, rapists, and the list goes on and on and on, and they're not protecting the law enforcement officers who are going out and doing this work.
Yeah, no, that is the craziest thing. And I'm sure there's a bunch of law enforcement officers that wanted to respond, but they got kids and pensions and roofs over their heads. That's the worst part about it, is putting those officers in the place to wonder what they're actually there for. But earlier today, CNN's Caitlin Collins told White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt that she was told by the Portland police chief that President Trump's comments about a violent Portland are not true. Listen to this.
I would encourage you as a reporter to go on the ground and to take a look at for yourself, because there's been many members of the press, not press in this room, but independent journalists, some of whom we'll be inviting to the White House very soon to share their stories, because they have been in the middle of these riots and they have witnessed the anarchy that is taking place night after night. It's on video. You should play it on your show. You have a great opportunity on prime time on CNN to show your audience. You should also ask the people who live in Portland. We've actually heard from many members of the community who have said that this is complete civil disobedience. It's a mess.
These libs have turned Portland and honestly the entire Pacific Northwest into a complete dump. I used to go out there all the time. Not anymore. You've got Chaz Chop. You've got him burning down courthouse. You got Antifa. You got Andy No getting his skull cracked open over there. All these things are happening. They're like, no, it's not happening.
Well, it's really a shame that the leaders of these communities choose not to enforce the law. They don't care about law and order. They don't respect law enforcement officers, and they don't respect law-abiding citizens. There are territories and areas that are just dismantled thanks to Antifa and all of these other organizations who choose to be above the law. They haven't been enforced to be able to go out and just do whatever they want over the last 4 years. And President Trump has changed that. He has taken off the handcuffs of law enforcement officers and put them on Antifa, on violent protesters, on rioters who continue to go out and wreak havoc on the American people.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I voted for. Watching one of these sassy libs spit in the face of somebody and absolutely getting wrecked by a law enforcement officer. I 100% voted for that. Lastly, new report. ICE is building out a social media monitoring system, trying to scour online platforms for all the information that's leading to these enforcement raids, but also the people who are doxing ICE agents.
Absolutely. We'll continue to go out and protect our law enforcement officers. We have protective intel teams. We've seen an increase of arrests nationwide of people making threats on ICE officers, and we'll continue to go out and make sure our officers are protected, their families are protected from being doxxed and from being put in harm's way while they're trying to conduct their day-to-day duties. They go out, they enforce the law, they choose to put the American people first, and we'll continue to do that as we get the worst of the worst off the streets.
Now, Madison Sheahan, do not let up at all. We appreciate it, what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, growing calls for Jay Jones to drop out of Virginia's AG race after disturbing and violent text messages resurfaced justifying political assassination. And we've got the reporter who broke that story, as well as the Lieutenant Governor from Virginia, Winsome Earle-Sears, coming up in just a bit. But first, day 6 of the government shutdown. I actually feel fine about it, but the blame game is in full effect. Those deets next.
Will you be able to afford your golden years? Do you worry how you'll make ends meet? You may be leaving up to $100,000 unclaimed. You need this special report. How to boost your Social Security and retirement by at least $100,000 or more. Get your free copy today. You've earned the benefits. Take advantage now. See our special offer to claim your free report. Call or go online today.
My employees and I want to thank all of you at Newsmax for your continued support of MyPillow. It's because of you and the grace of God that we're making it through. And to thank you, we're bringing you the best offers ever. Get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regularly $119.98, now only $29.88. Our My Towels are finally back in stock. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. Towels that actually work. What a concept. And for the first time and the only time ever, you're going to get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and a designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code when you order today. Inventory for these offers are extremely limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Whoa. The unexpected can happen to any of us. That's why SelectQuote makes it easy to get the life insurance coverage you need to protect your family for less than $1 a day.
SelectQuote found me a $500,000 policy for only $16 a month.
We could help you save more than 50% on life insurance.
Democrats over here are playing games. We have one plea and one plea alone. We need a handful of Democrats to stop the madness, reopen the government so that we can get to these critical debates about the year-end policy decisions with regard to the further reforms to health care. Plain and simple.
Specifically, 7 more Democrats is all they need. The government shutdown is now in its 6th day with what appears to be no end in sight as both sides continue on the political aisle to play with this blame game. Now we know where it really rests. But just to be clear, take a listen to some of the things that Democrats are demanding that we fund. Roll this.
$3 million for circumcisions and vasectomies in Zambia. $3.6 million for pastry cooking classes and dance focus groups for male prostitutes in Haiti. $6 million for media organizations for the Palestinians. $833,000 for transgender people in Nepal. $300,000 for a pride parade in Lesotho. $882,000 for social media mentorship in Serbia.
And this is going to surprise you, but that just got voted down in the Senate again a few minutes ago. That was only 35 seconds of a 5-minute speech of that trash. Democrats, no problem shutting down private sector businesses during COVID and told private sector, oh, wow, we're doing it for your health and the science. But they are freaking out over government employees not getting paid now. Quick reminder, a government shutdown is, in fact, a de facto balanced budget amendment. South Carolina Congressman Russell Fry, sir, all right, I got to ask you, though, there was a clean CR put forward, which was a continuation of Biden's budget. Why did he even get that?
Well, I mean, the answer is I don't know the answer to that. I mean, we should be doing our appropriations work. What I think was the priority, too, and I think it's important to remember, is the Big Beautiful Bill was massive. It was a huge product, delivered a ton of wins for the American people. But now that Congress is getting back to regular order, this is what the American people want. They want debates on budgets. They don't want continuing resolutions. Right. The president has called for this. Look, in the House of Representatives, we have passed 4 of the 12 bills. Mm-hmm. The Senate is taking those up. This is an attempt to give us a little bit longer runway to get these bills to the Senate. People want regular order back. That's the right way to budget. Let's do that. This continuing resolution, I think, is a 2-month, 7-week stopgap.
Yeah.
Continue that. Why we're having these crazy fights over Democrat priorities is beyond me.
But if the Dems keep up with this crazy stuff, are you guys prepared to keep this thing shut down and hold the line?
Well, I think their proposals are a non-starter. I mean, illegal immigrant health care, I want to pay our troops, not pay illegal immigrants at a hospital to have a spa day. That's not what my priority is, or the people that sent me to Washington, D.C. The work requirements that we did in the One Big Beautiful Bill, they want to water that down and eliminate it.
Yeah.
I want to keep those in. This is huge this is a huge win for the American taxpayer that we were able to deliver.
Right.
We're not going to reverse on that.
Yeah, no, I just heard that we're still sending aid packages to other countries, including Israel. I'm like, but our troops aren't getting paid, so that's kind of concerning to me. Jack Smith, allegedly at this point, tracking the private communications of 6 Republican U.S. senators. Insane.
No, it's totally, but this is apropos. Unfortunately, for what we've seen from Jack Smith. He fabricated a ton of stuff in his investigation, wasted $50 million. It was all a partisan charade in the weaponization of our federal government against political opponents. And it's a sad day. And like Kash Patel says, we're closing the door on that chapter in our history where we target people based on the content of their speech and who is our political opponent.
Yeah, that is, I think this is going to be major fallout story probably in the next couple days here. Hamas, real quick. Okay, so Trump's putting this big whole thing on Truth Social, saying there have been very productive discussions with Hamas and countries from all over the world this weekend to release the hostages, end the war in Gaza, but more importantly, finally have the long-sought peace in the Middle East. Time is of the essence, or massive bloodshed will follow, something that nobody wants to see. But look, here's the thing. I love this. I love the fact that he's able to negotiate peace, but he is negotiating with people in Gaza who have an average IQ of like 67, okay? And we have the actual, this is from NIH.gov in 1977, and I'm quoting here, the 70 to 75 was indicative of mental retardation, according to it. You're negotiating peace deals. How do we expect them to follow through with this?
Well, I think enforcement's a big component of this. I mean, Israel's got certainly conditions. They don't want to have Hamas armed. They want the hostages returned. We want the hostages returned. But President Trump has made it a hallmark of his administration. He wants to deliver peace. And he's had some tremendous success with that on the world stage so far. This would be a huge win because, we've seen a lot of bloodshed in the Middle East. I mean, Israel was attacked on October 7th, and it's been absolute chaos since then. We want the hostages home. We want the violence to stop. But Hamas has to make the choice, and the Palestinian people have to make the choice that they're going to choose, freedom and education for their kids over putting guns and digging tunnels with UN money. It's crazy.
I mean, the whole thing seems like a big mess. Look, if anybody can get it done, it's my man, Trump. Congressman Russell Fry, appreciate you making the trip.
Great to be here. Thanks.
All right. Coming up, a Virginia Democrat AG candidate exposed for his old texts where he fantasized of shooting his political opponents as well as their kids. Party of peace, right?
Everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmidt tonight on Newsmax.
Have you compared your Medicare plan recently? With eHealth, you can compare Medicare plans side by side for free. So we invited people to give eHealth a try and discover how easy it can be to find your Medicare match.
This is pretty amazing. I can go on a vacation with this money. I have quite a few prescriptions.
That's why people call us. We're going to compare plans, and I'm going to try to get you as much bang for your buck as possible.
That's great.
This one here covers all your prescriptions, your doctors as well.
Oh, wonderful.
I have a hard time with this.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for. Based on our conversation today, I would highly recommend this plan.
You're so helpful. You don't know.
I'm excited for you, sir. Again, my name is Cham. If you have any other questions, give me a ring.
Thank you very much. Oh my God, that was super easy.
See how your Medicare plan stacks up with the big changes for 2026. Just call this number or get started at ehealth.com. Compare plans that cover your doctors, prescriptions, pharmacy, and budget. And compare plans from the nation's top insurance companies. They pay us to help you. How much do you think you'll be able to save using eHealth?
At least $300 a month.
Would you say you found your Medicare match?
Yes, I did. What Cham did, she explained to me exactly what I need to know.
Well, I have a surprise for you. Cham, come on out.
Oh my goodness.
It's a pleasure to meet you today, sir.
What does it feel like to be face to face?
You helped me out quite a bit.
call to meet your advisor. They're paid the same no matter which Medicare Advantage plan you choose. Ask them about eHealth Live Advise or get started on your own at eHealth.com. Either way, it's always a free service. See if you could get more for less with eHealth, like these folks did.
The savings are unbelievable.
I could see the costs side by side.
eHealth is wonderful. $1,200 savings in my pocket. I was really pleasantly surprised with that.
Call 1-800-708-0234 to compare Medicare plans in your area or visit eHealth.com.
eHealth, your Medicare matchmaker.
This October 5th to 7th, join us for the Flags of Fellowship. Show the world that Israel is not alone.
For a house of God to put the Israeli flag outside, it says we are willing to stand up, to stand with the state of Israel.
By participating in the Flags of Fellowship, we're going to be very clear and bold about our support for Israel.
This is the moment that you show your congregation, yes, you respect, support Israel. This is the moment.
This is the moment. They deserve the right to be who they are.
And the one way is the flag. And put it outside.
In Israel, when they see us raising those flags, they feel supported, but they also feel proud.
Tell the Jewish people in Israel and around the world that Christians in America stand with them. You can be part of this historic movement. Learn more by going to ifcj.org today.
Oh, for the love
Hi, TV Genie. Can you lower my monthly bill?
Nah, I can raise it.
You can what?
You'll see.
Save over $300 in your first year with 3 months free.
Look, I mentioned this earlier, but I wanted to spend a little bit more time on this. The Party of Peace and Tolerance just got exposed for calling for violence on their political opponents. Again, I know, weird, right? In a string of texts obtained by the National Review, Virginia's Democrat Attorney General nominee, Jay Jones, fantasized about shooting the former Virginia GOP Speaker Todd Gilbert back in 2022. But that's not all. Jay Jones was firing off texts to his colleagues at the time, Republican House Delegate Kerry Corner, at sharing his strong feelings about Virginia's political class, Republicans saying nice things about a Democrat state legislator. Weird. House Speaker Todd Gilbert had begun making public statements about honoring Johnson's memory and political legacy, and Jones didn't like that for some reason. Around 8 a.m. on August 8th, 2022, Jay Jones shared his strong feelings with Corner, saying, "If those guys die before me, I will go to their funerals and piss on their graves, and to send them out awash in something." He then created this scenario. Jones said, 3 people, 2 bullets, Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people. You know he receives both bullets every time. Quote. Which Corner responds, Jay, please stop. Jay Jones writes back, LOL, okay. And the Corner says, it really bothers me when you talk about hurting people or wishing them death on them. It's not okay no matter who they are. But conservatives are the crazy violent ones all the time, right? We're the ones with the guns. Crazy. The woman who broke that story, National Review politics reporter Audrey Fahlberg. Audrey, I mean, great work finding this, but how has this guy survived politically for 2-3 years after that?
Thank you so much for having me on. You're right that it's a remarkable story, and I'm glad that you pointed out the context of this text conversation, because as you mentioned, it was in response to Republicans eulogizing a Democrat, a centrist Democrat who, of course, was too centrist for his liking. Beyond that, what's even more disturbing is he had a phone call. Kerry Corner, the state legislator who was on the receiving end of these texts, was obviously extremely disturbed by what was going on, so she pushed back. That pushback prompted him to call her during that phone conversation. He then suggested that he'd like to see Todd Gilbert's wife have watch her own child die in her own arms, so that he might reconsider his political views. Yeah. What's also striking about this is, I sent his team request for comment at 8:46 a.m. The story runs at 1 p.m. He doesn't formally say the words "I'm sorry" and that he actually apologized to Todd Gilbert until 8 p.m. So, and beyond that, he didn't actually respond to my press inquiry, but goes to another outlet, then attacks my outlet and accuses of being an oppo dump from his opponent, which, by the way, it wasn't.
Yeah, this is my bigger problem, too. Is like, look, I'm not like holier than thou. I've said some stuff off air that I wouldn't be proud. I've said some stuff on air that I'm not always proud of. However, this is like, I don't think in my history of ever, like, I went to war, okay? And I killed bad guys all over war. I didn't say this about their kids. And this is like an American?
It's remarkable because at the beginning of the conversation, he kicks off the conversation, texts her some strange things. He said, oh, sorry, that was for Mark, somebody else. But then he continues and doubles down after realizing he texted the wrong person, and then doubled down even more on a phone call. And again, he did not deny anything that I've reported here, which means, it makes us wonder, obviously, what he said to his other colleagues about any number of other state legislators. But what's striking also is that not a single high-profile national Democrat in Virginia or nationwide has called on him to step down. From what I'm being told, it's kind of a condemn and move on strategy.
Well, that was going to be my point, is Morning Joe Scarborough has said that he needs to move over. Roll this.
Coming up, an attorney general candidate in Virginia is apologizing for his texts about a state lawmaker. We'll go through what the messages said.
Probably be forced to withdraw from the race, and probably is doing a lot there.
I mean, I don't find myself agreeing with Joe Scarborough on basically anything but oxygen these days.
So the problem here for Democrats is that it's already early October. Early voting began in Virginia on September 19th, right? So a lot of people have already voted. Also, we're only 4 weeks out from Election Day, so they just don't really have another candidate, another strategy. His primary was actually pretty close, and I bet his Democratic primary opponent is feeling pretty frustrated right now. But to be a fly in the wall in some of these conversations that are happening behind the scenes, I mean, I'm sure is striking.
Well, but this is the other thing, too, is back to what you were saying about no Democrats, like no notable Democrats other than Joe Scarborough, who was a Republican at one point, I guess, have said this guy needs, like, that's like kind of a tacit endorsement. I remember, like, I said something stupid in like 2011, which by today's standard is not even that bad. But I came back from war and said something stupid on like a podcast. They excoriated me. There was like, there's no room in polite society for you. They had reporters follow me to every single job. And they were just like, no, he's apologized. He's moved on and he's okay.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that Virginia has its fair share of political scandals. It wasn't too long ago when Ralph Northam had the blackface scandal, and none other than Abigail Spanberger called on him to resign. He didn't end up doing so, but a lot of elected Democrats said, this is beyond the pale for somebody to be wearing blackface. Obviously these are different kinds of political scandals, but I think most people would agree that this is indefensible, his text messages. And so the fact that people can't call on him to step aside is pretty telling, I think.
Yeah. Audrey Fahlberg, great job on this story. Appreciate it.
The leadership of the Democrat Party has become consumed with hate. Try to name a Democrat leader who hasn't called the president Hitler. Try to name one who hasn't said Republicans and our policies are an existential threat to democracy. The leadership of the Democrat Party is inciting violence as a strategy to win power.
The woman herself, Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Virginia, Winsome Earle-Sears. Lieutenant Governor, first off, I cannot think of something more crazy coming from someone's mouth who's running for political office.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me. And he's running, Jay Jones, to be the Attorney General of our great Commonwealth of Virginia. He's already an officer of the court because he's an attorney. So he should know better. He should have some maturity about him. I mean, this is what we expect. And so when we look at the character of the man, we see that it's lacking. You and I are both military folks, and we understand that he would never have advanced to the next rank because of his statements. It is very immature, and it's actually murderous statements. You're running for office to represent all of the people. We expect that you will defend us in the courts, and you're not worthy. I'm sorry, you're not worthy of higher office.
Yeah, and the fact is that he probably will still get votes is even more disturbing. Carrie Connor also alleging that Jones told her in a 2020 phone call that, quote, a few police officers dying would stop them from killing other people. And I went to the stats a little bit here, and I thought that was like, actually know that doesn't do anything, and you should be supporting our officers because they're killed by criminals.
Yes, this is it, you see. I mean, he wants to defund the police, and he wanted to get rid of their qualified immunity. But then that's my opponent. My opponent, Abigail Spanberger, who is running for governor of our great Commonwealth, well, she has said that, she said to her supporters, let your rage fuel you. She didn't say anger. She chose her words carefully. Let your rage fuel you. Rage to do what? To fuel what? More murder, more mayhem? Because that's what rage is. It's uncontrollable. And for a person running for governor of our great Commonwealth to invigorate her voters like this, it's amazing to me. It's horrible.
But also the Virginia Beach Democrat. Look, I lived in Virginia Beach for 9 years. I was stationed down there. They're standing, quote, firmly behind Jay Jones, saying in a press release, we're all lined up, 10 toes down, ready to organize, mobilize, and deliver voters. I mean, like, is that not a tacit endorsement of this craziness?
It's not a tacit endorsement. It's an absolute endorsement. You have Jay Jones, who has said not only should the sitting elected official be killed, but then also his 2 children,
2 and 5,
should be killed. I mean, can you tell I have no words to explain why the Democrats are still behind him? And my opponent, Abigail Spanberger, all she says is, well, she's upset with these words. She's disgusted by the words, but let's move along.
Yeah.
No, the man wanted political violence in the form of murder against his family. His family didn't sign up for that. We're talking about children.
Yeah.
And this is the best she can do. She cannot be governor.
No, you can. It would be fantastic. Winsome Earle-Sears, we appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up, could CBS stray away from fake news? Well, they just named a new editor-in-chief, and we'll check that out in our Culture Clash next.
The gold standard, reassuring, solid, steadfast. In these uncertain times, owning a 1-ounce Gold Eagle can be the difference between feeling secure or feeling unprepared. Obtain your strong and steady lifeline at the best price in the country from the most trusted source, Global Coin. Call 844-595-9599 now to add a 1-ounce Gold Eagle to your safety net.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at gettrumpwatches.com. These make a great gift. It's Trump time.
Mother Nature never takes a day off, and neither does LeafGuard. LeafGuard, the only seamless one-piece rainwater management system with a clog-free guarantee. In most cases, we can install LeafGuard in less than a day, and it comes with a lifetime transferable warranty. Call now for 10% off LeafGuard, a $100 Visa gift card with purchase, and a $50 gift card with estimate. Plus, call during this program for our double savings sale. Double your savings to 20% off a complete LeafGuard system. Double your bonus to a $200 Visa gift card with purchase. And if you call now, we'll double your free gift to a $100 gift card with estimate. And once you get LeafGuard, you'll have more time to go on vacation. Be one of the first 50 homeowners who call now will receive a vacation voucher with purchase of a complete LeafGuard system. Call now to take advantage of our double savings sale. Don't deal with those old gutters any longer. Call now for LeafGuard.
LeafGuard handled it great. We had an awful lot of rain the last couple of days, and we didn't get any clogs at all. All of the rain just went right down through the gutters. All the pine needles slid right off.
LeafGuard works so well that it's earned the Good Housekeeping seal 20 years in a row. Don't deal with those old gutters any longer. Call during this program and take advantage of our double savings sale. Double your savings to 20% off a complete LeafGuard system and double your bonus to a $200 Visa gift card with purchase. And remember, with Leaf Guard, the top's not a cover, it's part of the gutter. And it comes with a clog-free guarantee. And if you call now, we're going to double your free gift. Receive a $100 gift card with your in-home estimate. And the first 50 homeowners who call will receive a vacation voucher with Leaf Guard purchase. Call now to take advantage of our double savings sale. Don't deal with those old gutters any longer. Call now for Leaf Guard.
You got better things to do than clean out clogged gutters. Call Leaf Filter today and never clean out clogged gutters again.
Leaf Filter's technology keeps debris out of your gutters for good. Guaranteed. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER today or visit leaffilter.com.
CBS News, do they stand a chance? Because today they announced Bari Weiss, the Free Press, is now the editor-in-chief of CBS News. She started the Free Press after quitting the New York Times in 2020 after accusing them of censoring her thoughts and bullying her. This is a letter she sent out to her new colleagues. What I can tell you on day one is that I stand for the same core journalistic values that have defined this profession since the beginning, and I will continue to champion them alongside of you. And she goes on to list the core journalistic values that she plans to uphold. So is it going to be like the New York Times light? We'll see. David Medina, conservative influencer. Virginia Allen, host of the Daily Signal podcast. Virginia, is there any hope, or is this more just going to be like, kind of vanilla stuff?
If anybody can do it, Bari Weiss can do it. She has shown her commitment to journalistic standards, to holding the line, and to, in her words, to really uphold those classic core principles of journalism, to tell the truth, whether it's popular or not, and to do so in the modern media
But look who she's
landscape.
working with.
But I think we have to give her the opportunity to show if she can really do it. Can she right the ship of mainstream mass media that lost its way a long, long time ago? And the hope is that, she'll be able to be the greater influence than all of the really woke journalists that have so infiltrated CBS News for so long.
True. All right, so listen to this. This is crazy, David. Bartender AOC goes on live social media the other day and had this to say about Stephen Miller.
Point is that they are scrapping and grasping at straws because they have nothing else. He looks like he's like 4'10", and he looks like he is angry about the fact that he's 4'10", and he looks like he is so mad that he is 4'10", that he's taking that anger out at any other population possible.
Republicans are grasping at straws, but Stephen Miller looks 4'10". I think he's actually between 5'10" and 6'2", depending on what internet site you go to.
Right. Well, Stephen Miller is completely out of AOC's league. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And it's just like AOC. She has nothing to offer, Carl. By the way, happy birthday, 250th birthday to the Navy, and thank you for your service.
Thanks,
but
man.
AOC has nothing to offer. She has no policies to offer. She's the one that said that the reason why there was an uptick in crime was because people were stealing bread. Never mind the looters. This girl has nothing to offer, Carl. She has nothing to offer, so she results to this, and it's really hypocritical. These are the same people that attacked Donald Trump for how he talks about women and how his mouth and everything, and she results to this. It just shows you how desperate she is.
Yeah, no, and the other thing too, Virginia, is, speaking of Democrats, Trump went after Fox News again, but this was right now after Peter Doocy had Democrat Senator Mark Kelly on his show to discuss the shutdown, saying, why is Fox News? And Peter Doocy putting on Democrat Mark Kelly to talk about totally unabated or unchallenged health care. The fake spin is so bad. He goes on and on and on. And I'm like, look, okay, we've had Mark Kelly on this network before, but he didn't have no criticism. I think that was the big point here is they just let him kind of run amok, and he's a Democrat senator, Virginia.
Yeah, well, of course, as we know, working in the press and media, it's often our job when you're interviewing someone to push back a little, to bring points, to bring facts to the conversation. So I think that, obviously, like you said, this is what frustrated President Trump about this interview. But, it really goes to show, once again, that the president is honest. He will, regardless of, the number of times that Fox has obviously had him on, been in his corner, when he sees play that he feels is unfair, he's going to call out those news outlets, regardless of how big they are, and even if they have the influence and are routinely pretty positive about him, like Fox News is.
Yeah, David, I got about 15 seconds for you here. Canada could actually strip people of their internet and phone service at any time if they don't comply with their edict, according to this new law.
Yeah, this is just on par with this big colluded effort with other countries like the UK to control the people of the world, Carl. This is what they want to do. They want to control us. They don't want us to have free speech, and it just makes you more grateful for President Trump winning the election in 24 to protect us here in America. But it just shows you, this bill, I've looked into it, it's egregious. People, it will fine you, and they can shut you down without any due process at all. It's disgusting.
Yeah, what are you going to do next? Take my toothpaste? I don't know. These people are crazy. Virginia, David, we appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, coming up, Bad Bunny made his first public, I guess he's still calling it a clapback to all the Super Bowl critics, which is me. Whatever. I can promise you that statement is not going over well with any people, especially my next guest.
Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about YRefi. Did you know that as an accredited investor, when you invest in YRefi, your interest rate is fixed? You can invest from 1 to 5 years, and you can spread your investment over those terms that best suit your needs. You also have the freedom to take your monthly interest income or reinvest it, whatever you choose. When you invest in YRefi, your interest is calculated daily, and you're paid monthly, and should you need your money back early, there is a liquidity feature. Would you like some more information? Just call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST. Or log on to investYRefi.com. That's investYRefi.com. For complete details, make sure to review the private placement memorandum and scan this QR code to view the disclosures at your leisure. YRefi, investing in America's future.
At Avocado, we believe what's better for you is better for the planet. That's why we're so excited to introduce our radically affordable eco-organic mattress, starting at just $7.99. Crafted with the same incredibly comfortable, certified organic materials you've come to expect from Avocado. Plus, we give 1% of all mattress revenue to 1% for the planet. Learn more at avocadomattress.com.
How does the world's most trusted dog expert keep his own dog so healthy?
Hi, I am Cesar Milan. In my 20 years rehabilitating dogs, I've seen too many struggle with health problems that no amount of training could fix. Then I discovered it wasn't the dog, it was their food. Fortunately, I found veterinarian Dr. Marty's Anti-Kibo Breakthrough.
Nature's Blend is packed with whole foods that are freeze-dried, locking in nutrients.
I saw remarkable improvements in my dogs within weeks.
Try Dr. Marty risk-free for 90 days. Plus, get a free gift when you call or visit drmartypets.com/Caesar.
Get essential satellite internet when you switch to Viasat. Connect, browse, and explore. From coastline to countryside, Main Street to your street. Get online wherever you live. New plan, new deal. Unleash savings starting at just $49.99. Switch now, save big. Visit Viasat.com/save big or call 833-3-VIASAT to sign up today. That's 833-3-VIASAT. Viasat, internet for your needs.
Mesothelioma is a life-changing diagnosis. Let us come to you and help provide the guidance you need. At MRHFM, we offer our Meso Care Promise. Mesothelioma is all we do. We'll even come to you. We provide the support you deserve. With our team of nurses and attorneys, you will never be alone in this fight.
Call us at 800-555-1059. That's 800-555-1059. Or go to mesobook.com.
You might not know these, but I'm doing the Super Bowl halftime show, and I'm very happy. I'm very happy, and I think everyone is happy about it. I know that people all around the world who love my music are also happy, especialmente todos los latinos y las latinas en el mundo entero, y aquí en los Estados Unidos, todas las personas que han trabajado para abrir puertas. If you didn't understand what I just said, you have 4 months to learn.
I'd actually never heard of this guy before, this controversy. But how about you have 4 months to translate all your songs into English, playing in America? Bad Bunny's attempt at clapping back at Super Bowl critics during... Look, I'm just not going to watch it. That's what we do as Republicans. Like, hard pass. You're performing in America. Just learn English. Country music star John Rich. John, this seems dumb.
I mean, what is going on with the NFL? It's pretty unreal, the decisions they continue to make. I'm hearing that actually me and some others are talking about a potential alternative show for the halftime show where you could actually flip away from the game if you're watching it and watch some American straight ahead, maybe country, maybe gospel, maybe a combination of the things. We're working on something.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you got that memo, but Hollywood's job apparently is now to explain democracy and warn people about Trump. I'm sorry, did you get that memo?
I mean, what this is a backlash. It's just that they're falling apart at the seams. They know it. Everybody else does too. They still have control of things like the Super Bowl halftime. So they're going to use it like a hammer to hit us all in the face with it. But all you got to do is change the dial.
Rob Reiner, you got to roll. We got to watch this segment real quick. Roll it.
Make no mistake, we have a year before this country becomes a full-on autocracy and democracy completely leaves us. We have to make the public absolutely aware that their democracy is being taken from them. And we have to do everything we can to make sure people understand that. People don't, it's a vague term, democracy. It's like, what does that mean? The Constitution, we don't know what that means.
So obviously that, but you are actually getting involved with this, the actual process of democracy, even though we're a constitutional republic. And tomorrow's the vote for a big race in your state in Tennessee, special House election to replace Mark Green's spot. It's actually one of your close friends from high school, Jody Barrett, been doing pretty well, ahead in the last 3 weeks in the polls.
Yeah, he's doing very well. I've known him a long time. Jody Barrett actually shut down the red flag laws in Tennessee that were being proposed.
Yes.
He ran pornography. I know, right? Ran pornography out of the public school system. He and I have been locked at the hip since we were kids. He's actually got a guy running against him who was the COVID czar of Tennessee. So the guy responsible for locking our state down and even fired hundreds of National Guards members, which I know that hits close to home for you.
Yeah.
Fired hundreds of National Guard members under his watch, a guy named Matt Van Epps. So I think it's going to come down to Van Epps or Jody Barrett. The establishment has come after Jody with over $1.5 million attacking him from D.C. PACs. And he's just a country guy from Dixon, Tennessee. He's got my support. Tomorrow is the vote. So if you're in District 7, put a real McCoy in that seat. I voted for him. So did my wife. And so should you.
Yeah, and Jody Barrett, it is a big, big race for us to hold down there. Also, you're part of Operation Light Shine, organization that fights to intercept and spread awareness about cyber sexual abuse material. Look, this is not being addressed adequately by legislators, so people like you had to step up.
That's correct. So last year, 36 million reports filed to the DHS on kids being targeted. 36 million in a year, Carl. Think about that number, 3 million a month. Operation Light Shine goes out, sets up sting units, sets these bad guys up. They bust them, they arrest them, they get them out of our culture. But that's just a small dent. I mean, everybody's coming at them as hard as they can, but I would say go visit OperationLightShine.org, make a donation to them. There's no money better spent than to protect the kids in this country from the predators that want to do them harm.
Yeah, well, look, if you ever need anybody to kick in some doors, you know who to call there, John.
I know a guy. Yes, I do.
All right, John Rich, everybody, appreciate it very much. Go vote tomorrow. All right, before we go, Letitia James gets nuked in federal court, but I'm not actually celebrating on this defeat. Why? Next.
You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmidt tonight on Newsmax.
My employees and I want to thank all of you at Newsmax for your continued support of MyPillow. It's because of you and the grace of God that we're making it through. And to thank you, we're bringing you the best offers ever. Get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regularly $119.98, now only $29.88. Our My Towels are finally back in stock. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. Towels that actually work. What a concept. And for the first time and the only time ever, you're going to get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and a designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code when you order today. Inventory for these offers are extremely limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Every day across the globe, big business agendas go unseen by investors. Things that go against your core values and beliefs. It's time to know your investments. Abortion, alternative lifestyles, gender and identity confusion. If you believe in protecting marriage and life, children, innocence, guarding masculinity, restoring families, defending religious liberty, invest with your values. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
I was tired of sitting on the sidelines. Now, thanks to Jointivia, I'm back in the swing of things. Wait. $70 for a refill?
You gotta try Single Care. Just look up your prescription, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and save.
Really?
Really. Single Care crushes the cost of my prescription, almost as much as I'm crushing Chad.
Unbelievable. See why more people are saving with Single Care. Common side effects include shockingly lower prices, excessive fist bumps, and humbling guys named Chad.
When I first decided to invest in gold, I was a bit nervous and unsure how to start. Luckily, I found Noble Gold Investments. From the very first call, they made investing easy. No pushy sales tactics, no gimmicks, and no confusing free silver offers with hidden fees. Just honest advice tailored to my needs, giving me confidence every step of the way. If you're new to gold investing or want a partner you can trust, visit noblegoldinvestments.com.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at gettrumpwatches.com. Please make a great gift. It's Trump time.
I'm sure you've heard someone say at some point, poo runs downhill. It might have been more crass than that, but it's a common phrase. But what about nuclear waste? In that case, it does actually flow downstream. Just ask New York. A federal judge last month ruled against New York attorney Letitia James. Normally I cheer for that, but this was in her effort to stop Holtec International from dumping 45,000 gallons of radioactive waste from the Indian Point nuclear facility into the Hudson River. That river's dirty enough as it is. Holtec International touted the win, arguing, though, that the plant had already discharged millions of gallons of radioactive water into the Hudson while their plan was in operation. I'm not sure that the untold hundreds of thousands of people who get their drinking water from that river will be happy about that, but bald eagles, sturgeon, fish, boating. Rob, you are a man of New York. It's going to run right by you.
Well, I read that article. The water apparently is not that, it's not that contaminated. It's not good, but it dilutes in the river. There's a whole science to what they can and can't release. The other side of it is, you need these nuclear plants. If we're ever going to get off these fossil fuels, they say it's so dangerous, you got to have nuclear, right?
Sure, but yeah, it's nuclear.
I mean, it sounds really bad. I think there's a
Chernobyl wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
Take it away, brother.
Good to see you, Carl. Thanks so much. Interesting last story.